Golem! Ugh, that was brutal. Today, your main man returns to Monster Ecology Golems. You like the Monster Ecology videos? Type into YouTube Monster Ecology. You'll find not only videos from your main man about monsters, everything from gully dwarfs to beholders to black dragons to ghouls to hobgoblins and oni and Gith Yankee. You'll find Monster Ecology videos contributed by other members of the YouTube RPG Brigade. You can check the YouTube RPG Brigade out on Facebook as well and contribute and see the videos that these people have made as well. A lot of great videos out there on monsters, giving you ideas, so forth, how to use this. We'll be talking about a number of different games here and how they employ and implement the RPG standard, the Golem. Before we do that, reminder, go to Drive-Thru RPG, pick up your physical copies of Within the Ring of Fire Saga Book, 77 Thrones, the Theological Codex. Pick up Fey Wine, the first novel, Monsters and Men, will be out very soon. You want to get those books, support the RPG revolution, illuminate yourself, and burn your player's spirit or RPG delight. Now, with golems come from Jewish mythology, or if you like, Judeo-Christian mythological cycles, that you have a number of apocrypha that add more to these stories. But we can see right even there in the Old Testament of the Bible, the Jewish mythology of Adam and Eve. And Adam himself is a golem created from mud, created by the Christian God, and have life breathed into him. So that's a story that's very strong in the minds of the Jews. And we can see that come back into the Golem of Prague and other places. But Adam being the first Golem, in fact, we even see Ravenloft, are the Dungeons & Dragons first and second edition. I don't know what they did with this particular part in third. But, well, I should say in second edition Ravenloft, at least, they have a domain that is... I believe they have the scientist and they have the golem, but the golem's name is Adam. And I believe Adam's the lord of that domain. It's been a long time since I read my Ravenloft stuff. But we can see right there, again, using that same idea for the Frankenstein story. And they're going to call him Adam. They're going to go back to the Old Testament. So it's a good bit of additional mythology sort of added there to that concept and concept with the use of that in that situation. Predominantly golems from Jewish mythology are made of mud, but they can be made from other substances as well. We see golems even in The Simpsons. With Krusty, I think the golem, I don't know if we call it the Golem of Prague, the episode where they take on the scrolls out, and that's following the storyline. You take the scrolls, you write on them, put them in the mouth. You can write words inside the mouth or on the tongue or up in the gums or chisel them into the teeth, and these words control the golem. Usually up to about 16 words, I believe, you can put on the golem in those situations. Now, golems are going to be in a ton of different games. So let's talk about Dungeons and Dragons that has as many golems as they could possibly. They have a golem for everything. The pillowcase golem, they go way overboard, way into the land of utter absurdity because they want to fill pages. As an RPG writer, I can tell you, once you get past, your A and your B material, you start, and you start writing about stuff like digesters and other foolish nonsense like that. And we see that in Dungeons & Dragons. The golems become absurd to the point of being laughable. If you go through the entire list of golems that have been created for Dungeons & Dragons, you have to laugh at them. It's like, come on, dude, really? And some of them are so absurdly close to each other that it's very clearly essentially just a tactic to fill page count, really. Now, that aside, they do come up with some interesting ideas. While I don't know how big a fan I am of the stained glass golem, some of the different things I've come up with, some of the different ideas, the dragon flesh golem, I thought was kind of interesting. You can certainly do something with that. The mind flayer brain golems I thought was a bit odd, if I'm to be honest, for a whole bunch of reasons. But putting that aside, a lot of golems they have no intellect at all. They're essentially working off the commands that their master puts to them. And then you have other golems, like the flesh golem, that, while they're very powerful, there's no reason you couldn't, in any kind of game, play, your flesh golem, as we see in the classic Mary Shelley novel, Frankenstein, where Frankenstein's monster, the monster is not named Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's monster or the monster, and the monster is very much playable in terms of, he's tremendously powerful and strong and so forth, but he has that intellect, that illumination, that sympathy, everything you'd really want on a character. He makes can make a very good, interesting character. You have to really work the storyline correctly. You have to have the character come through this near mental stupor, and you have sort of like almost like a mice and men sort of moment there, where or excuse me, almost Flower for Algernon moment there, where the character undergoes this mental transformation and becomes more of an adult, becomes smarter, becomes more mentally apt from this stupor, and continues to climb in intellect to perhaps a point where he is extremely intellectual, challenging the priest or the wizard or the scientist that created them. We can see games like Promethean from the New World of Darkness line, which I've unfortunately yet to play. I would love to play Promethean. It sounds like an absolutely wonderful game. Of course, I'm a big fan of the Greco-Roman Titans, much bigger fan of the Titans and the gods. And Prometheus, just an excellent story. If you haven't read anything about Prometheus, I would definitely recommend that. Bringer of Fire, which is just a wonderfully great story there. Now, I also. So we put it together there in the modern context. The World of Darkness games, you can play things like Prometheus, or you could easily adapt that to the classic World of Darkness style as well. You can play Dungeons and Dragons. You can certainly play Flesh Golem. I've seen people play Stone and Iron Golems. I think it's just asinine. You've missed the whole you missed the whole coolness on the character. That Flesh Golem is such an interesting deal. And I go, oh, well, I get more power here, and that's, you're missing the deal. But there's no tremendous amount. Let's look at Dungeons and Dragons. We have clay, we have stone, we have iron, we have steel, we have brain, we have a golem of chainsaws, probably. You have stained glass, and you have the bone golem, the flesh golem, you have the wood golem, you have the grave dirt golem, the blood golem, somehow. And it goes on and on and on. You guys can probably list down and just hit in the comments, hit golem names I haven't named for Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of them. I'm going to bet there's 50, if we go through every edition of D&D, there's 50 different types of golems, which is, a bit on the much side. No, I certainly understand the need to have more than one type. There's a number. And within the Ring of Fire, there are a number of golems coming. For that, in the Book of True Names, you can create golems as a summoner. You can create golems as a member of a clergy of a divinity with a certain advantage. And basically, you take a spirit of your elder creator, and you infuse that spirit of cold or of fire, of earth, into the form, and you engage in an extremely complicated ritual for a long period of time, and you have a chance to inspire that spark of life inside that inanimate form, which can really create an interesting, very interesting game session there, to be for sure. I have had players twice in all the years that I've run games create golems, and it was very, very interesting situations. One of those is a copper golem, which, in this game, and within Ring of Fire, we definitely had a copper golem to honor that player, Ron Spellman. So, again, I definitely think you can get away with a number, maybe even 15 golems, but when you start having some of the ideas, as you well know, particularly in Ravenloft, it got ridiculous. It was just like, just give me less pages, That being said, the idea of taking inanimate matter, just like the inanimate matter that's coming and talking to you in this video, this stone golem that speaks to you, you can bring an incredible story as you see the illumination, the spark, the idea, come through there. Certainly, if you put it in terms of beauty as well, this beautiful, serene sculpture, this statuette or this statue, depending on how large you want to make the thing, that's animated by a sculptor that he falls in love with, and it comes to life. You get a Pygmalion story in there, which is a great story. What is it called? I'm slipping a word. Amagliophilia. I don't know. I think I've gotten the word wrong there. But anyway, you get that whole story. You can tell that deal, and that can really bring across a very interesting story, a sad tragedy, a romance. You can bring across the horror of the golem, the awakening, the moving, this infancy of a creature that goes on to eventually have a high intellect, but has caused carnage and damage and gone through the village and destroyed things, and now he's in exile. Now he's having to go off to the far reaches, as we saw within the movie and in the book Frankenstein. And that can create a lot of angst and pathos. We can put tremendous sympathy on the character, on the creature, on the monster, whether it's an NPC or PC or whatever you want to do with it. There's a lot that can be done with golems. You can bring them across very interesting ways. You can always have the old statue that's sitting there in the middle of town or in the temple or whatever that animates and comes to life and destroys or performs heroic actions to save. The golem can certainly be a force on your side, a force for good or whatever, or a force completely the other way, for evil. An angry spirit that's been in prison too long and now it's looking to take retribution and pick people up and hit the scoop slam and drop a giant 5,000-pound golem elbow right on their dome piece and splatter them like they were at a Gallagher concert. So, just think about that in the different ways you can bring a golem into your game to entertain and enthrall your players. Remember, check out the Monster Ecology videos. You can follow me on Twitter. I just put together a Twitter account, yourmainman_RPG. Remember, I am your main man now and forever.